Caffeine, the silent awakener, when a cup of coffee becomes a journey that shapes your body and mind. Morning, you slowly wake up, your mind still foggy, and instinctively reach for your familiar cup of coffee. A warm wave glides down your throat, the rich aroma awakens your senses, and within minutes, your mind begins to clear, like dawn breaking through the darkness. It's no coincidence that billions of people around the world choose to start their day with a cup of coffee, a seemingly simple beverage that holds extraordinary power: caffeine. Caffeine is more than just a stimulant. It's part of the rhythm of modern life, a symbol of alertness, concentration, and the constant race against time. From coffee, tea, energy drinks, chocolate, to over-the-counter pain relievers, caffeine weaves its way into our daily habits, often without us even noticing. But do we truly understand this silent companion? At its core, caffeine is a central nervous system stimulant. It works by blocking adenosine, a naturally occurring compound in the brain that promotes sleepiness. In doing so, caffeine helps us feel more awake, improves our focus, and can even lift our mood in the short term. That's why so many people feel reborn after just one cup. However, this alertness doesn't come free. Behind the temporary energy lies a quiet cost that both the body and mind must pay. Heart rate increases, blood pressure fluctuates, and the adrenal glands pump out more stress hormones than usual. When consumed in high doses, especially after 2 p.m., caffeine can disrupt your sleep, cause restlessness, and throw you into a vicious cycle of exhaustion, caffeine, more exhaustion, with no clear way out. Some people even become dependent, unable to start their day without it. When caffeine intake is suddenly stopped, the body protests: headaches, irritability, fatigue. Caffeine may not be addictive in the way hard drugs are, but it can create a psychological and physical dependency strong enough to make its absence deeply felt. So the real question is not, should I drink caffeine, but rather, how can I use caffeine in a way that serves me instead of controlling me? Caffeine can be a valuable ally if you know your limits, but if you lean on it blindly, it can just as easily become a hidden enemy, silently stealing your sleep, your peace, and the natural rhythm of your body.
How does caffeine work when your brain gets subtly tricked? To truly understand the effects of caffeine, we first need to understand how the brain naturally operates in states of wakefulness and sleepiness. Every day, as you go about your activities, working, learning, thinking, your body produces a special neurotransmitter called adenosine. This chemical messenger plays a vital role in signaling your brain that your body is tired and needs rest. As the day progresses, adenosine gradually builds up, making you feel drowsy and sluggish, a completely natural mechanism designed to help humans balance activity with restorative sleep. And then, caffeine enters the scene. Once you drink a cup of coffee, caffeine is rapidly absorbed through the digestive tract. Within just 15 to 45 minutes, it begins affecting the brain. What's remarkable about caffeine is that it doesn't create energy or restore true vitality. It simply disguises itself as adenosine. Caffeine's molecular structure is strikingly similar to adenosine. When it reaches the brain, it blocks adenosine receptors by taking their place, like a master impersonator who locks the doors so the real messenger can't enter. The result? Your brain no longer receives the tired signal, and you feel alert, focused, even energized. But in reality, you're only temporarily silencing the brain's fatigue alarm, not addressing the root cause. As caffeine latches on to millions of neural receptors, it also triggers the pituitary gland to send a signal to your adrenal glands. This, in turn, prompts the release of adrenaline, the body's stress hormone. Adrenaline makes your heart beat faster, slightly raises your blood pressure, and dilates your pupils. That's why many people experience a feeling of excitement, invigoration, or even trembling hands after a strong cup of coffee. The real issue? Your body doesn't like being tricked for too long. If you consume caffeine regularly, the brain compensates by creating more adenosine receptors to balance out the ones being blocked. As a result, you'll need more caffeine just to achieve the same level of alertness. And if you skip your daily dose, you might feel even more exhausted than before. This is the root of caffeine dependence and that familiar sense of, I can't function without coffee. Worse still, caffeine has a half-life of 4 to 8 hours, depending on your metabolism. If you drink coffee at 3 p.m., it could still be active in your bloodstream by 9 or 10 p.m., continuing to block adenosine from doing its job. The result? Restlessness, difficulty falling asleep, or light, fragmented sleep that leaves you feeling unrested. So, caffeine doesn't add energy. Instead, it switches off your brain's internal fatigue signals. It makes you think you're more energized than you are, when in fact, you're just borrowing alertness from tomorrow, and you'll have to repay it with tiredness later. Drinking caffeine isn't wrong, but once you understand how it really works, you can learn to use it wisely, strategically, so that caffeine serves you, not the other way around.
2. The benefits of using caffeine wisely, when a little awakening becomes the secret weapon of high performers. Caffeine, when used wisely and strategically, is more than just a wake-up drink. It can become a powerful tool to enhance life performance, from work and exercise to emotional well-being. The key lies in the dosage, timing, and most importantly, your ability to listen to your body. 1. Enhances alertness and improves focus. You don't need to be a coffee addict to know that sharpened mind feeling after a strong cup of espresso in the morning. Caffeine works by blocking adenosine, reducing fatigue, and boosting dopamine, a neurotransmitter closely linked to attention, motivation, and mental clarity. As a result, you feel more focused, less distracted, and more capable of handling tasks that require critical thinking, calculation, or creativity. In high-pressure work environments or during long hours of study, a small dose of caffeine, around 150 to 200 mg, about 1 cup of coffee, can act as a silent assistant, helping you push through the post-lunch energy slump or meet that looming deadline with sharper mental energy. 2. Boosts athletic performance and endurance. Did you know that caffeine was once restricted in professional sports competitions due to its performance-enhancing effects? When consumed 30 to 60 minutes before a workout, caffeine helps. Reduce muscle fatigue by inhibiting adenosine. Increase fat oxidation, allowing the body to preserve glycogen for longer. Stimulate neuromuscular activity, improving reaction time and strength output. Studies show that individuals who consume caffeine before running, cycling, or gym training experience greater endurance, less perceived pain, and an extended ability to maintain high-intensity performance. However, moderation is essential. 3 to 6 milligrams of caffeine per kilogram of body weight is typically sufficient to yield optimal effects. 3. Supports mental health and reduces mild depression risk. Here's a surprising benefit. Caffeine, when consumed moderately, can lift your mood and promote emotional resilience. By stimulating the release of dopamine and serotonin, 2 neurotransmitters critical to happiness and emotional balance, caffeine creates a short-term positive mood effect. Large-scale studies have shown that people who regularly drink 1 to 2 cups of coffee per day have an 8% to 20% lower risk of developing depression compared to those who don't consume caffeine. Especially for individuals who live alone, work under stress, or frequently face mental fatigue, caffeine can serve as a small daily dose of positivity that helps stabilize the mood. However, this effect only holds when caffeine is not overused. Excessive intake can lead to the opposite: increased anxiety, sleep disturbances, and a worsened mental state. Conclusion: caffeine, benefit or burden? It depends on how you use it. A little caffeine at the right time can help you accelerate, boost productivity, and uplift your mood. It's not your enemy if you understand its role and manage your intake mindfully. Think of caffeine as a biological tool, not a psychological crutch. When used correctly, it not only gives you control over your alertness, but also over your daily energy, focus, and overall performance in life. 3. The dark side of caffeine overuse, when alertness becomes a sweet trap. Caffeine can be a good friend when you need to stay alert for work, study, or to get through an exhausting day. But like any stimulant, when overused, it starts to distort the body's natural biological rhythm, quietly causing both physical and mental consequences, many of which go unnoticed until they become chronic. 1. Sleep disruption. the silent thief of rest. Caffeine can remain in your bloodstream for 4 to 8 hours, depending on your metabolism. That means if you drink a cup of coffee at 3 p.m., by 10 p.m., your body may still be fighting off the natural urge to sleep. You may lie awake, tossing and turning, your mind racing, or experience fragmented, dream-disturbed sleep instead of deep, restorative rest. Even just a few nights of poor sleep can significantly impair your memory, decision-making, and mood. Over time, this leads you to rely even more on caffeine to stay awake, creating a vicious cycle. Fatigue, caffeine, insomnia, more caffeine, which can be very difficult to break. 2. Rapid heartbeat, anxiety, restlessness, when your body lives in alert mode. Caffeine stimulates the adrenal glands to release adrenaline, raising your heart rate, constricting blood vessels, and putting your nervous system on high alert. This may help with short-term wakefulness, but at higher doses, over 400 milligrams per day, it can trigger pounding, irregular heartbeat, trembling hands, nervous energy, inability to sit still, anxiety, irritability, or a vague sense of unease. For individuals with a history of anxiety disorders or heart conditions, caffeine can do more than just cause discomfort. It may pose a serious health risk if not managed carefully. 4. Mild addiction, when you can't start the day without coffee. Caffeine isn't addictive in the way hard drugs are, but it can create a mild physical and psychological dependence. When consumed regularly, the brain adapts by adjusting its adenosine system, meaning you'll need a strong enough daily dose just to feel normal. If you quit caffeine suddenly, you may experience withdrawal symptoms such as persistent dull headaches, fatigue, sluggishness, lack of energy, difficulty concentrating, irritability, mood swings. This is why many people don't dare quit and often carry coffee with them wherever they go, making it an inseparable part of their routine. 4. Temporary spike in blood pressure, the price of instant alertness. Research has shown that for caffeine-sensitive individuals, even small amounts can raise blood pressure for several hours, especially systolic pressure. For those with a history of hypertension, this can be dangerous if unmanaged, increasing the risk of stroke or cardiovascular incidents, especially in rare but serious cases. Conclusion: knowing your limits is everything. Caffeine is not the enemy. The real problem lies in how people overuse it as a coping mechanism for a lifestyle that lacks proper rest, self-care, and balance. Being awake doesn't mean being healthy. Feeling stimulated doesn't mean you're in harmony. Sometimes what you truly need isn't more caffeine, but deeper sleep, better nutrition, and a slower pace to reconnect with your body. Using caffeine correctly is an art. Overusing it, however, is a sweet trap, one that you may not even realize you've fallen into until it's too late.
5. Smart caffeine use. How to stay alert without paying the price. Caffeine is not your enemy, but it's also not a superhero that swoops in at the perfect moment to save your energy. The alertness it offers is artificial and must be managed strategically, because one small mistake in timing or quantity can disrupt the delicate biological rhythm that your body works so hard to maintain. Below are practical but far from trivial tips to help you turn caffeine into a long-term ally rather than a hidden liability. 1. Avoid caffeine after 2 to 3 p.m. if you have trouble sleeping. Even if you feel fine having coffee late in the afternoon, the reality is that caffeine can linger in your bloodstream for several hours, silently blocking adenosine, disrupting your sleep cycle, and leaving you more tired the next morning. If you frequently struggle with insomnia, light sleep, or waking up in the middle of the night, try eliminating all caffeine after 2 p.m. You may be surprised at how much your sleep quality improves. 2. Stay away from energy drinks loaded with excessive caffeine. Not all caffeinated drinks are created equal. One can of energy drink may contain 300 milligrams to 500 milligrams of caffeine, along with sugar, artificial flavors, and other stimulants, a combination that can overwhelm your heart rate, blood pressure, and nervous system. These products were never designed for daily use, yet many people drink them like water. If you need a pick-me-up, opt for gentler alternatives like green tea, matcha, or even just a 5-minute walk to reset your energy levels.
3. Stay hydrated. Don't let caffeine silently dehydrate you. Caffeine has a mild diuretic effect, meaning it increases urination and can lead to intracellular dehydration if not balanced with water. Even slight dehydration can make you feel tired, dizzy, or unfocused, which often leads people to drink more coffee, creating a self-defeating cycle. Make it a habit. For every cup of coffee, drink a glass of water. This helps support your digestive system, maintains hydration, and allows caffeine to work more cleanly without side effects. 4. Listen to your body. Anxiety is a signal to cut back. Do you ever feel jittery for no reason, your heart pounding while you're just sitting still, or your mind racing even when there's nothing to stress about? These can be signs that you've exceeded your personal caffeine threshold, even if it was just a single cup of your usual brew. Everyone metabolizes caffeine differently. Some people shake after just 50 milligrams. Others can handle 2 cups a day with no issues. But what's okay for you is determined by your body, not by social norms or habits. Conclusion: caffeine isn't the problem, but you must use it consciously. Being alert is good, but being alert with intention is wiser. Treat caffeine like a useful tool, not a crutch you lean on endlessly. Keep your daily intake below 400 milligrams, avoid it after late afternoon, drink water with every dose, and always pay attention to how your body responds. These are the core principles to unlock caffeine's benefits without suffering its downsides.
Caffeine, a trusted companion or a silent saboteur. Caffeine isn't inherently bad. It's not an illicit substance, nor is it a toxin. In fact, caffeine is one of the most widely consumed and thoroughly studied stimulants in the world, and when used correctly, it can absolutely become a powerful ally in helping you conquer work, study, and life with clarity and alertness. A well-timed cup of coffee can provide sustained focus, enhance productivity, and even support your emotional resilience during mentally draining periods. For athletes, caffeine is a legal performance booster. For office workers, it's a morning ritual and afternoon companion during high-pressure days. But like every coin, caffeine has 2 sides. When you go beyond the safe threshold, whether by accident or prolonged habit, caffeine begins to collect its debt of alertness in subtle, invisible ways. Reduced sleep quality, heightened anxiety, irregular heartbeat, diminished memory, and worse, an unspoken dependency where you find yourself unable to start the day without it or feel out of control if you miss your usual dose. Caffeine doesn't directly damage the liver like alcohol, nor does it cause hallucinations like hard drugs. But precisely because it's so common, so accessible, and so socially accepted, people underestimate it. They don't realize they're overusing it until insomnia, anxiety, or persistent restlessness becomes a daily reality. The danger of caffeine lies in this: it doesn't knock you down instantly, it wears you down silently, bit by bit. So, what's the best way to befriend caffeine? It's about understanding your body, knowing when to consume it and when to stop. Learning to use caffeine as a tool, not a crutch for exhaustion. Being intentional about dosage, timing, and tuning into your body's subtle responses. You don't need to give up coffee, you don't need to fear it, but you must respect caffeine, just as you respect your sleep, your biological rhythm, and your mental well-being. Being alert is not the ultimate goal. Peace is. Caffeine can be a double-edged sword, but if you know how to hold it properly, you won't get cut. You'll wield it as a precise tool to optimize life, elevate performance, and still maintain inner balance. Choose mindful alertness. Be the one who uses caffeine. Don't let caffeine use you.